The new One Punch Man episode actually looked decent against all odds. Gachiakuta came through with its most over-the-top episode yet, thanks to some of the greatest 2D animators ever working on it. The new Fireforce trailer looks quite promising, surprisingly enough, and the upcoming Undead Unluck special will give us a long-awaited taste of prime Sanghu Park cinema. Welcome back to another episode of This Month in Anime. Yes, I am late, but I have an excuse this time around. You see, I was waiting for the 21st episode of Gachiakuta to come out. Given the stuff involved, I wanted to talk about it in some capacity, and this is a good place to do that. Believe it or not, I'm actually late on purpose this time around. Anyway, let's jump right into it. Let's not waste time. Make sure to subscribe. If you don't, you'll get 13 years of bad luck. I don't know, just go down there and subscribe. The button's right there. Go on. You can also become a member of this channel. You know the drill by now. Exclusive videos, custom badges and emojis, shoutouts and more. Just go down there and press the join button. So, One Punch Man Season 3 Episode 8, it was actually quite good, wasn't it? Not perfect, obviously, far from it, but you could actually see what they were going for. You could see the vision, as the kids say. The episode was, by and large, produced by the same team as the rest of the show. It was storyboarded by series director Shinpei Nagai, the same as the rest of the episodes, although this time around he doubled down as the episode director. Well, one of them. The two chief animation directors Kazumi Ono and Shinya Hasegawa are the same as the rest of the series. Most of the animators are the same, even the outsourcing studios are the same. Basically, besides a couple of new names on the animation front, most of them being jcstaff in-house guys, this was produced by the same squad as the rest of the show. There were no major differences. So then why, you may ask, why did this episode look a lot better than the rest? Well, there are two main reasons. One, the concept of priority, something I've gone over in detail before. One Punch Man Season 3 or TV anime as a whole rarely has the luxury of giving every episode the same level of polish. Instead, teams prioritize certain episodes, often at the expense of others, and I believe episode 8 was one such high priority episode. If I had to guess, I'd say this episode was in the metaphorical oven for a bit longer than usual, although make no mistake, that doesn't mean this episode had the required amount of time. It very much did not. 11 people and 5 entire studios being credited for animation direction doesn't exactly scream healthy, does it? The other reason why this episode looked better than usual can be summed up in 3 words. The 3 magical words. No, not please, thank you and sorry, rather computer-generated imagery or CGI for short. This episode enlisted the help of the CGI specialist Studio Moe, with Season 2 CGI director Masahiro Hiraoka serving as the action supervisor and plenty of people from that studio helping out with CG production and animation. Plus, one of the episode directors, Tetsuro Tanaka, is part of jcstaff's in-house CGI department. So where was the CGI I speak of? Well, besides a few backgrounds, the CGI wasn't actually on screen. The characters you saw were very much hand-drawn. I'll explain what the team did. Presumably was model an animated chunk of the action in 3D first, creating what's called a 3D layout and then draw over them, leading to a movement-heavy, dynamic, but ultimately 2D final product. This process might sound novel, but it's actually pretty common, and no, it's not just Studio Ufotable that does this. Almost every modern anime ever uses 3D layouts, at least to an extent, be it for backgrounds or actual animation. It's very common, it's just that this episode could rely on them more because it had a highly competent 3D team behind it. And that's the secret behind One Punch Man Season 3 Episode 8, that and the ungodly amount of effort the team put in despite the absolutely atrocious work conditions. That part's important. The episode itself looked decent. The characters actually moved quite a bit, in fact, with a few particularly eye-catching sequences, such as this scene animated by someone who probably prefers to be anonymous, and this transformation sequence animated by Kenichiro Aoki. The lengthy exchanges were surprisingly well done, partially due to the aforementioned 3D layouts, and hey, turns out Shinpei Nagai is actually quite decent at action storyboarding. He clearly has a firm grasp over the concepts of build-up and release, shot-to-shot flow, and dynamic compositions. Good stuff. The episode wasn't perfect, of course, it had plenty of issues. The drawings were extremely inconsistent, static shots were lingered on for extended periods of time, the background struggled to keep up at several points, the action was janky, the fight had continuity errors, the list goes on. Still, all things considered, it was leagues above what I had expected, and for that, the staff deserved their flowers. From what I can tell, and I may be incorrect, so take this with a grain of salt, the upcoming episode should also be a big one, arguably bigger. Legendary animator Takashi Hashimoto mentioned an upcoming episode being the one the staff went all out for, and I believe this upcoming episode is episode 9, mainly because I think it'll have a mech fight and Hashimoto is credited as the mech designer for this show. It just adds up. I'm really excited to see what they come up with, so much so that I might cover it in detail, we'll see. My message to the fans, expect half-baked ambition, not perfection. Gachiakuta episode 21 featuring the most outlandishly stacked staff list ever, well maybe not ever, but you get the idea. You had the man himself, Yutaka Nakamura, as both a key animator and a storyboard artist, you had Vincent Chansard, you had Chris, you had Yuto, you had Hone, you had Toru Iwasawa, the list goes on. Now yes, the episode wasn't exactly a Sakuga festival. It wasn't filled with high-level animation from front to back. Instead, it had pockets of animation muscle flexing, storyboarded by Yutaka Nakamura, might I add. Of course, that doesn't mean the rest of the episode looked bad or even average. It didn't, it looked great. The non-Nakamura sections, aka the majority of the episode, featured a fantastic snappy Yuto sequence, a wonderfully smooth scene animated by Supshi, and more. Again, they were great. The highlights, of course, were the 2 sections storyboarded by Nakamura, the first of which was around a minute long, with Nakamura himself animating half of it, and extremely high-level animators like Nothing Yukun and Chris handling the rest. This section was actually one of the least effects-heavy Nakamura sequences I've seen in a minute, which was refreshing. It mostly relied on fast-paced, dynamic body mechanics and 3D/3D aided, depending on the shot, background animation. As per usual, Nakamura's spatial awareness, sense of speed and flow, and drawing power was through the roof. I can go on and on about how technically impressive this 1 minute was. I won't, I have other stuff to talk about, but I can, greatest of all time for a reason. I saw some people online throwing around phrases like Nakamura fell off, which is such an absurd statement to make. At worst, this sequence wasn't as boundary pushing and industry defining as your usual Nakamura scene. That's the most negative thing I can say about it, that it didn't reinvent action animation. Think about that for a second. The second Nakamura sequence was the flashier of the two, and it didn't actually feature Nakamura's animation if I'm not mistaken. The credits aren't confirmed as of this recording, but based on what we can tell, we had some Nothing Yukun near the start, Supshi in the middle, and Vincent Chansard near the end. Still, it was an incredible sequence, the highly, almost unnervingly consistent yet wonderfully smooth animation, the idiosyncratic drawings, the unparalleled sense of flow and energy, the sheer coolness of the whole thing, it was mind-blowing. Plus, it was really cool to see younger talent like Yukun and Supshi hold their own when working with industry legends. Good stuff. They dropped a Fireforce trailer the other day and it actually looked good. I loved the overall aesthetic, the cartoonish, stylized elements being juxtaposed with the photorealistic digital components created this uncanny, something isn't right feeling, which of course is the whole point. It seems like the team knows what they are doing, at least when it comes to the overall direction and aesthetic. As for the animation, it was good. We had a few noteworthy cuts, but again, I wouldn't expect this to look as good as the first 2 seasons. That's just not happening. The stars aligned perfectly for seasons 1 and 2, but they didn't for season 3. That's just the way it is, like it or not. Looking forward to it though. I've read the manga, and let me tell you, the ending of the series is genuinely batshit insane. It's one of the most outlandish things you'll ever see. I just hope the team adapts it well. Speaking of Yuki Ase-directed shaft-built shonen adaptations getting sequels, they dropped a trailer for the Undead Unluck special the other day, and it looked amazing. As some of you may know, this project is no longer being produced by David Productions, and it's no longer being directed by Yuki Ase. Instead, the new studio is ENH Productions, and the new director is the one and only, the man himself, the action extraordinaire, the one-man army, Sang-Woo Park. Now here's the thing, Ninja Kamui episode 1 was quite cool, but Park's output following Jujutsu Kaisen 0 hasn't quite been the best. Between the challenges of running an entire studio and making up for the lack of names by practically doing everything himself, Park hasn't been able to go all out in a while, but it looks like this special will change that. The high-octane action, most of which looks like Park's own animation, the classic poses and compositions, the dog shit 3D background tracking, it really is a Park project, brings a tear to my eye. Jokes aside, the trailer looked great. The overall aesthetic was good, the art direction and photography looked solid surprisingly enough, and the actual animation was amazing, and that includes the character acting, good stuff. Just so you know, David Productions is still credited, but it's just for pre-production assistance, so I doubt they'll do any of the actual animation and stuff. Although I do hope we get to see some of the regulars like Miwa and Okaji alongside Park and his crew. Really excited for it. What else? What else? Oh, something really stupid happened on Twitter the other day, and unfortunately I was near the center of it. It's just a funny story, it'll take a couple of minutes max. Basically, someone on Reddit was browsing through underground adult content from 2014 for some reason. I'm pretty sure the P word gets you demonetized, and noticed one of the outfits looked almost identical to the one Reze from Chainsaw Man wears. Plus, the actress wearing it was named Rosé, or Rose, I don't know. A funny observation which, if true, would be hilariously on brand for Fujimoto, nothing out of the ordinary, fork found in kitchen, as the kids say. I saw that tweet, double-checked, and upon confirming the validity of the video, quoted it with something along the lines of, "Oh my god, this is actually real, that's so funny." And well, my tweet blew up, let's put it that way. I personally thought it was funny, but apparently a chunk of the internet took it really seriously. I saw people writing entire character essays about Fujimoto as a person, I saw people using this as an excuse to be racist, I saw all sorts of shit. Keep in mind, most Chainsaw Man / Fujimoto fans thought it was hilarious, nothing out of the ordinary, because they and I knew Fujimoto wasn't, well, normal, and this was very on brand for him. It's just the part of the internet that had a bizarre, incorrect image of him in their heads that were outraged, they were livid. Really stupid stuff. It was fun to see Fujimoto bros go all damage control, but let's be honest, it's a stupid situation that doesn't warrant an outrage of this magnitude. It's probably not true either, it's probably just a coincidence, but either way it's really funny. Plus it's always fun to see half of Twitter lose their minds over something silly. Stay strong, Fujimoto bros. And that's it. A special thanks to Nude03, Amir and the Gallus90 for becoming tier 3 members, and until next time.